There's a shift afoot in information technology and enterprise architecture towards portfolio-based thinking. Organizations are keying in on cost savings and really looking at solutions like True as a mechanism to get to, in what some cases, is extraordinary cost savings. As stories of these savings and the return on investments for these projects have gotten out into the public eye, momentum has grown and the marketplace has grown for organizations that are out there pushing forward these solutions. The use of the portfolio approach, using these tools as a mechanism to save on costs, is a great thing. Can't be more clear on that. Cost savings are always good. And it was part of the promise of EA from the inception. The idea that we would gain real insight into how the resources of the organization should be configured in order to support the mission. The idea that we were going to operate efficiently and effectively. Those have all been part of EA from the inception. Cost savings has always been something that has been one of the things that we've talked about when we talk about EA. But what I want to talk about today is ensuring that you get maximum value from your portfolio management effort in the longer term. Remember, the cost savings that we're talking about, oftentimes the things that make the big pop, the stories that are out there about organizations saving millions upon millions of dollars, those are in part because the system that they have in place at that organization has failed to support the type of decision making that would enable them to have not ended up in the place that they ended up. So the problems that you had yesterday won't disappear because you've gathered the information you need and you have the right tools in place to eliminate them now. There's a systemic issue in a lot of these organizations where coming in and doing a portfolio management project that looks across the organization, gathers up all the right information, you run it through something like True or use a portfolio management approach to cull some of the inefficiencies out. That's an awesome thing, but it doesn't set the organization up to be successful in the long term in and of itself. In order to do that, you first have to recognize that it's going to take more than a one-time fix. You're going to have to invest beyond just bringing in a tool and doing a project to fix your portfolio now. The enlightenment that you get from evaluating your application portfolio and finding those cost savings gives you a real opportunity to change the way that you make decisions going forward. You've got a chance, and I think there's oftentimes a unique opportunity as you come in off the heels of the evaluation that you do as part of your portfolio evaluation to look across your stakeholder landscape and look for how should we be making decisions now. And particularly if you have a situation where you found enormous value as part of your portfolio management efforts, you may have the type of wind behind your sails at this moment that you'll never have again. This is an opportunity to really change the system for the long haul because you'll have identified these opportunities for savings and you can point to those and go, look, we can fix the system that caused these inefficiencies and make sure that it never happens again. So I think when you start looking at that and you start looking at who should be involved in making the decisions, I think you also need to look at how do we automate those decision-making processes? How do we make sure that information is carried from stakeholder to stakeholder in a way that enables you to support real decision-making processes that are different than what you had before? I mean, one of the things that you see all the time is that you come in, you bring the information into your portfolio management solution, you light up the dashboards, you light up the reports, but the decision-making process doesn't change. So you got all this great information, you've put it into a format that helps facilitate decision making, but yet you don't actually use it to enhance your decision making process. Decisions go on being made the same old way they were made before. And I think this happens way too frequently, and it's something that needs to be addressed early on in the process as you're getting ahead of steam and getting your projects underway. You need to develop a mechanism for calculating the benefit that each stakeholder receives from this information, as well as the benefit the organization as a whole is receiving. If you can develop a value framework, that will go such a long way towards helping you achieve long-term success. Taking into account factors like risk, agility, cost, alignment, all of these different factors, and helping build the case for the organization that these decisions are important enough that we need to have a process in place to support them. And then looking on a stakeholder by stakeholder basis and looking at what's information that these stakeholders need given their role in this decision making process that we're developing. What are the things that they need to make their decisions? When do they need it? And how can we use this portfolio management system and approach that we're developing to ensure that we have a long-term approach that drives value? Now, this is critical because you hear all the time from people that EA should be relevant across the organization. But too often, no time is spent on taking and ensuring that that information is relevant to those stakeholders that aren't in the direct enterprise architecture path, but are critical to making portfolio decisions on a regular basis. So there's widespread recognition that we need to bring more people into the enterprise architecture realm, but we often don't speak the right language to them. We expect them to use our own specialized language to talk to us. And then the other part is that we don't provide out the types of reports that support that level of analysis or the right information that they would need to make a decision. We give them something that is part of a methodology that we use internally. It's part of the analytic method that we use to drive our own internal conversations, but it's not something that's tailored to that stakeholder community to help them make specific decisions. And if you're going to invest in EA, it's worth investing in building the type of informational elements that are going to support specific decisions. And that's why I think it's so critical to define those decisions, define the value that they bring to the organization, and then define the analytics that support that decision. It's worth spending the time doing. So to me, the value landscape should enable executives to understand the specific value of information that's being developed and maintained. And it should do so in a way that lets them understand it as it relates to specific stakeholders, decisions, organizations, and the enterprise as a whole. Without this information, the organization only has anecdotal evidence of the value of the program. And so I think we all know what happens if you can't make yourself bottom line relevant. Eventually people go, those guys in EA are ivory tower architects, not relevant to the business, don't understand how things really get done. And in many cases you're either cast aside or the program gets cut, whatever it is, or a change is made to go find something that's more relevant. If the program can't be effectively advocated for on the basis of value-based measurement, if you can't measure your own value, how can you believe that executives will trust that EA program to measure the value of the things that come into the organization? It's as simple as that.